Project cost management. Why is project cost management so important? First of all, because project cost is one of the project triple constraints. Second of all is because one of the key success criteria for the project is to deliver on budget, which means without exceeding the cost estimations. You probably noticed that I use words budget and cost. We'll see what the differences are in this lesson. Project cost management deals with estimating the project costs, creating the cost baseline, developing the project budget, and controlling how project money is spent throughout the project life cycle, making sure that the money is spent efficiently throughout the project life cycle. Cost management processes, there are 4 of them. 3 of them belong to the planning process group and 1 to the monitoring and controlling process group. Let's see what they are. The first one is called plan cost management. The second one is called estimate costs. The third one is called determine budget, and process number 4 is called control costs. Let's see those processes, what they are, one by one. Plan cost management. Plan cost management is the process that results in the preparation of the cost management plan. Cost management plan is part of the overall project management plan. Typically, it outlines how cost estimates will be made. We'll talk about cost estimates in the next slide. And how project cost will be monitored and controlled over the course of the project, throughout the project life cycle. What other topics cost management plan could potentially address? Things like cost structuring, which level of WBS elements will be used for cost estimating, variance criteria, tolerance to deviations from our cost baseline, and other potential topics related to cost estimating and cost monitoring and controlling. Estimate costs. This process is engaged to answer the question how much money will be required to complete the project or part of the project. Maybe how much money it will be to complete certain activity on our project. Typically, costs are estimated at activity level and then rolled up into the overall project cost. It's called bottom-up estimating. We use our work breakdown structure, WBS, to come up with a bottom-up estimating. There are a number of techniques for cost estimating at activity level. For example, we can use analogous estimating. We know that the same activity took us 5 days at the previous project. So we say, you know what, this activity will most likely take us 5 days this time again. Or 3-point estimates when we use our optimistic, pessimistic, and most likely estimate. We could say, in the best case, we are planning to finish this activity in 3 days. In the worst case, we are planning to finish it in 7 days. Most likely, we'll finish it in 5 days. Parametric, when we use some mathematical models with historic data to get an estimate for our activity. And one cost, when we use expert judgment. There is a specialist who knows how much time this particular activity needs to take, so that person provides us with a one cost estimate, $1,000 for this activity. Determine budget. During this process, individual cost estimates are compiled into the cost budget. The first step is the cost aggregation, when activity costs are combined into work package costs, and work package costs are rolled up to control account costs. I'm using the WBS terms that we learned in lesson 4 when we were talking about scope management. Work package, control account. So let's look at this example. Let's say we have our activity costs determined. And we have 4 activities, activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, activity 4, and their costs are as follows: $500, $1,000, $1,500, and $2,500. So by putting them together, we can easily identify the cost of work package 1 and the cost of work package 2. Work package 1 will have the cost of $1,500 and work package 2, $4,000. What will be the cost of control account 1? Very simple. It will be the sum of these 2 costs. So the control account 1 will have the cost of $5,500. Next, control accounts roll up to project costs. Let's have a look. Control account 1 with the cost of $5,500 and control account 2 with the cost of $9,500. We put them together and our project cost is $15,000. What do we do next? In order to determine the cost baseline, we add a contingency reserve to the project cost. Contingency reserve is the money that we need to cover for the identified project risks. We'll talk about risk identification in one of the next lessons. For now, let's just assume that in order to cover for the identified project risks, we need $1,500. So we add that amount to the 15,000 and our cost baseline is $16,500. And finally, in order to determine our budget, we add a management reserve to the cost baseline. What is a management reserve? It is the reserve that covers for unforeseen risks or change requests. So we may have not identified some risks and we know that there might be some change requests down the road, and we add some contingency management reserve. It's called management reserve. Let's assume that in our example it will be $1,000. We add that amount to the $16,500 and our cost budget turns out to be $17,500. That's how we determine the cost budget. Control costs. This process is about measuring deviations from the cost baseline and taking actions if deviations are discovered. So you remember what the cost baseline is. It is the cost of our project plus contingency reserves. The tolerance to deviation is defined in the cost management plan. So we can say in the cost management plan that if we deviate by more than 5%, it is not acceptable. We need to take an action. Or for another project, it could be 3% deviation is not acceptable. In certain cases, cost control findings may result in change requests. That will be managed through the integrated change control, as we know, process. And if approved, the cost baseline may have to be adjusted accordingly. And then we'll measure against the new cost baseline. The key tool to determine cost performance against the cost baseline is called the earned value method. And in the next few slides, we are going to review that method. Earned value method. Let's have a look at a few definitions first. Actual cost is the sum of the actual cost for activities performed to date or over a given period of time. Let's say we're talking about a 3-day period of time, 3 days. Actual cost is the amount of money that we spent over those 3 days. Whatever we did, we spent a certain amount of money over 3 days. And this is our actual cost. Planned value is the sum of the approved budget for the activity scheduled to be performed to date or over a given period of time. So let's say we're talking about the same 3 days. We were planning to perform certain activities, and whatever we budgeted for what we were planning to perform is called planned value. Earned value is the sum of the budget for the activities accomplished to date or over a given period of time. For the same 3 days, we accomplished something. So whatever was budgeted to accomplish those specific activities that we accomplished is called earned value. Once again, actual cost is what we spent on what we accomplished. Planned value is what we were planning to spend on what we were planning to accomplish. And the earned value is what we were planning to spend on what we did accomplish. Here is a specific example. We are building a wall and each section is budgeted $1,000. We think that it costs $1,000 to build each section. So on day one, end of day one, we're planning to spend $1,000. End of day two, we're planning to spend $2,000. End of day three, we're planning to spend $3,000. This is our planned value. What is our earned value? Let's say that on day one, we built one section and our earned value in this case is going to be $1,000 by the end of day one. On day two, we built 2 sections and a half, so we exceeded our plan. In this case, we built something that was originally budgeted $2,500, 2.5 sections. On day three, by end of day three, we built 3 sections, so our earned value is $3,000, just like we planned. Let us look at the actual cost now. The actual cost is how much money we spent on the activities that we completed. Let's say on day one, we did not spend our $1,000 that we were budgeting. We spent only $800. Let's say by the end of day two, we spent $2,300. And let's say by the end of day three, we spent $2,800. Now let us apply some calculations as of the end of day two. So our planned value was $2,000 because we were planning to build two parts of the wall. Our earned value is $2,500 because we actually built 2.5 sections. And our actual cost, as we just assumed, is $2,300. What is our cost variance? It is the difference between the earned value and the actual cost. In this case, it is $2,500 minus $2,300. It is $200. Our cost performance index, CPI, is earned value divided by the actual cost, and it is 1.09. Cost performance index, which is greater than 1, means that we are under budget, which is a good indicator. However, depending how much under budget we are, we may be still required to adjust our baseline. For example, in this case, we have 9% deviation. We may raise a flag or not raise a flag in this particular situation. Schedule variance. Schedule variance is earned value minus planned value, which is in our case $500. And schedule performance index, SPI, is earned value divided by our planned value. It is 1.25. Just to remind you, schedule performance index and schedule variance are used to control, not to control cost, but to control our schedule. It belongs to schedule management, right? Schedule control. So schedule performance index of greater than 1 means that we are ahead of schedule, which is also good. The deviation is 25% in this case. We may have further look to see if this deviation is acceptable. Don't we need to adjust our schedule baseline as a result? By the end of day two, we can also calculate our budget at completion. What we know our budget at completion was. We know it was $3,000 because we were planning to finish 3 sections. Each of them is $1,000. Estimate at completion. At this point in time, by the end of day two, how much money we think we will spend until we build all 3 sections of the wall. Here we estimate it as budget at completion divided by cost performance index, and we end up with the number $2,752, which is actually pretty close to what we gave in our example. In reality, we spent $2,800. Estimate to complete, again, end of day two, we say that we need to spend $452 to complete half of the wall on day 3. How do we calculate it? We just subtract our actual cost from our estimate at completion. So these are the major earned value method indicators. Just to summarize, I want to mention that the key indicators are cost performance index and schedule performance index. Cost performance index is used for the cost control. And if it is lower than 1, it means that the project is over budget. If it is greater than 1, it means that the project is under budget. Schedule performance index used for schedule control. If it is lower than 1, it means that the project is behind schedule. If it is greater than 1, it means that the project is ahead of schedule. And this concludes our cost management lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and see you at the next lesson.